the first sign was just a whisper. A faint signal, barely more than background noise, picked up by the deep space probe Vanguard 12 as it drifted through the Perseus expanse. Most signals like this meant nothing. Cosmic radiation, pulsar echoes, or old transmissions bouncing endlessly through the void. But this one was different. It had a pattern. And that meant intelligence. The discovery. Captain Reed stood on the bridge of the Orion's wake, arms folded as the transmission played through the ship's speakers. It was a rhythmic pulse, structured, deliberate, impossible to be natural. Lieutenant K, the ship's chief engineer, frowned as she worked to clean up the distortion. "It's ancient," she murmured, eyes flicking over the console. "Thousands of years old at least. But it's still repeating." Dr. Holt, the ship's historian, leaned forward. Repeating for who? No one had an answer. The signal's origin point was an uncharted planet, designation, PX-19. It was a barren world, lacking any known settlements or recorded visits from human explorers. No reason for a beacon to be there. Yet, as the Orion's wake approached, sensors revealed something unexpected, an immense structure buried beneath the surface, stretching for miles beneath the desolate terrain. Could be an old alien outpost, Captain Reed mused. But if it's been untouched for thousands of years, why is it still transmitting? No one could answer that, either. First contact with the past. The descent was tense. The Orion's wake touched down near a jagged rock formation that, upon closer inspection, was not natural. Metal glinted beneath layers of dust and time, revealing an ancient entranceway. The air inside was stale but breathable, the interior untouched by time. What started as a simple reconnaissance mission turned into something much bigger the moment they stepped inside. The walls were lined with intricate carvings, depicting scenes of towering figures and sprawling cities. The air carried a strange hum, as though the structure itself was alive. But none of that compared to what they found next. At the heart of the chamber was a massive stone tablet, cracked with age yet unmistakably clear. It bore inscriptions, symbols carved deep into its surface, familiar, yet impossible. Because the writing was human. And it was older than history itself. How was this possible? Dr. Holt whispered, his voice barely audible in the heavy silence. Humanity was never supposed to be here. Yet the writing on the walls told a different story. Cliffhanger, the unbelievable truth. Kay's voice broke the silence. "Captain, this isn't just any language." She pointed at the worn symbols, tracing them with her glove. "This is Proto-Sumerian." Dr. Holt took a sharp breath. "That doesn't make sense. Proto-Sumerian only existed on Earth, 5,000 years ago." A chilling realization settled over them. The signal. The structure. The writing. Something was very wrong with what they thought they knew about human history. And they had just scratched the surface. The chamber's silence stretched, thick and oppressive. Captain Reed, Dr. Holt, and Lieutenant K stood motionless, their minds racing. Proto-Sumerian. An Earth language. A script that should have never left humanity's homeworld, let alone appeared here, on an uncharted planet light years away. "This can't be real," Holt muttered, his gloved fingers brushing against the stone tablet. "It's impossible." Reed exhaled sharply. "Impossible or not, we need answers." He turned to Kay. "Can you get a full scan of this place? I want to know what else is buried down here." She nodded and activated her wrist-mounted scanner. The device emitted a soft hum, pulsing waves of energy through the chamber. Within moments, her screen flickered with data. Her eyes widened. "Captain, this isn't just a structure. It's a city. The depths of the unknown." Following Kay's readings, the team pushed forward, deeper into the ruins. What they discovered defied belief. The underground city stretched for miles, monolithic corridors and vast halls, remnants of a lost civilization frozen in time. Strange, towering statues lined the pathways, their alien features worn but still imposing. Yet, mixed among them were unmistakable traces of humanity, murals depicting people in garments eerily similar to those from Earth's ancient past, relics bearing designs identical to artifacts found in Mesopotamian ruins. A deep unease settled over the team. "This doesn't make sense," Holt said, shaking his head. Even if ancient humans somehow reached this planet, they wouldn't have had the technology to build something like this. Reed frowned. Unless they didn't come here willingly. That thought lingered in the air, unspoken yet undeniable. Evidence of visitors. As they moved deeper, the mystery only deepened. The city wasn't just abandoned, it was preserved, as if waiting to be rediscovered. In a grand hall, they found a massive statue, easily 20 feet tall. Its features were unmistakably human. The carved face was worn by time, but the proportions, the eyes, the unmistakable structure of a human form, it was all there. Holt ran his fingers over an inscription at the statue's base. He activated his scanner to translate. The readout sent a chill down his spine. "To those who return, remember us. You were always meant to come back." His breath caught in his throat. This isn't just a lost civilization. They were expecting us. Reed's voice was grave. Expecting us? From where? From Earth? But before anyone could speculate further, Kay's wrist scanner beeped sharply. She frowned, tapping the screen. "That's strange. I'm getting energy readings up ahead." "Energy readings?" Reed echoed. "After all this time?" Kay nodded. "Something's still active. A hidden power still alive." The team followed the signal, winding through the empty city until they reached a massive archway. Beyond it, a great chamber stretched into darkness. At its center stood a massive console, its surface smooth and metallic, adorned with symbols that pulsed faintly with light. Holt's eyes widened. "It's still running." Kay approached cautiously, reaching out to examine the controls. If this system is still drawing power, it must be connected to something. Maybe it controls. Before she could finish, the console flickered to life. A deep hum vibrated through the chamber. Lights surged along the walls, illuminating carvings long lost to the shadows. The air seemed to thrum with energy, as if the city itself was awakening. Then, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans, you have returned." The words sent a shock through the crew. The voice wasn't from their comms. It was coming from the walls. Cliffhanger, an unwelcome awakening. Holt took a step back, his heart pounding. Who said that?" The console's surface shimmered. A holographic projection flared to life, an image of an alien being, regal and ancient, its gaze piercing as it stared directly at them. The message was old, yet somehow, it felt immediate. "You were never meant to be lost, but now that you are here, the cycle begins again." The image flickered, and in the depths of the chamber, a deep rumble echoed through the ruins. Kay turned sharply. "Captain, something just activated below us." Reed clenched his jaw. "Then we need to find out what." Because whatever they had just woken up. It had been waiting for a long, long time. The ruins trembled. Dust fell in thin streams from the vaulted ceilings as a distant rumble echoed through the underground city. The holographic figure before them flickered, its image wavering as if struggling to maintain its form. "Humans, you were always meant to return." Captain Reed's pulse quickened. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What is this place?" The figure's alien features remained impassive, its translucent form floating above the console. "You must go deeper," it intoned. "The answers lie below." Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the projection vanished. The chamber plunged into silence once more, save for the distant sound of shifting stone. Lieutenant K glanced at her scanner. "Captain, the energy spike, it's intensifying. Whatever just came online, it's not stopping." Dr. Holt ran a hand through his hair. "We have no idea what we just activated. Could be a security system. Could be something worse." Reed's jaw tightened. "Only one way to find out. Move out." Descending into the unknown. Guided by K's scanner, the team followed a series of stone-carved corridors leading ever downward. The deeper they went, the more the architecture shifted, from ancient stone to sleek, metallic walls humming with latent power. It was as if the city itself had evolved over time, layers of history stacked upon each other. "Captain," Kay said, checking her readings, "this energy signature, it's old, but it's stable. If there's still power running through this place, something's keeping it alive." Reed nodded. "And I want to know what." At last, they reached a vast subterranean chamber. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Giant crystalline structures jutted from the walls, glowing with an eerie blue light. At the center of the room sat a massive circular platform, surrounded by consoles still flickering with activity. And along the far wall, Dr. Holt stopped short. "Oh my God! The hibernation chambers." The wall was lined with pods, dozens of them, stretching into the distance. Some were broken, their glass cracked, their occupants long turned to dust. Others, however, remained intact. And inside, Reed swallowed hard. They're not alien," Holt whispered. Through the fogged glass, the figures inside were clearly visible. Their bodies, though slightly elongated and adorned with faintly glowing implants, were unmistakably human. Kay's breath caught. "No, this isn't possible." Holt pressed a hand against one of the pods, staring at the being inside. "These people, these humans, they've been here for thousands of years. Before Earth even had written history." Reed exhaled sharply. The implications were staggering. Then this planet, it wasn't just a colony. He turned back to Holt. This was their home. Before anyone could react, a sharp beep came from Kay's scanner. Then, a slow, mechanical hiss filled the chamber. One of the remaining pods was opening. The awakening. The glass cover slid back, releasing a plume of icy vapor. Inside, a figure stirred. Limbs twitched, muscles spasmed as the being took its first breath in what could have been millennia. Reed instinctively reached for his sidearm, but Holt grabbed his wrist. "Wait. This is the first living remnant of this civilization. We can't just..." The being's eyes snapped open. They glowed faintly in the dim chamber, locking onto Reed and the others with piercing intensity. Then, in a voice rough with disuse, the figure spoke. "Why, did you wake me?" Silence fell. Reed took a slow step forward. "Who are you?" The figure took a shuddering breath. "I am Varen, the last of the Watchers." Holt's mind reeled. "Watchers? What were you watching?" Varen's expression darkened. "The end." Reed frowned. "The end of what?" Varen's gaze flickered to the broken pods around them, then back to the team. "The end, of us." Cliffhanger, a dangerous truth. Before anyone could respond, the room shuddered violently. The crystalline structures pulsed, sending waves of energy through the floor. Kay checked her scanner. "Captain, we have a problem. Something else is waking up." Reed clenched his jaw. "Something besides Varen?" The ancient survivor nodded grimly. "You should not have come here." A distant roar echoed through the ruins. Something was moving in the dark. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Dust rained from the vaulted ceiling as an eerie, metallic hum filled the chamber. The crystalline structures pulsed in time with the vibrations, as if responding to an unseen force. Captain Reed instinctively raised his weapon, eyes darting across the darkened expanse of the underground city. What the hell is happening? Varen, the newly awakened survivor, pulled himself from his hibernation pod with slow, deliberate movements. His long dormant limbs trembled, but his glowing eyes remained sharp and focused. He turned to the team, his expression grim. "You were never meant to awaken me," he rasped. "And now, they will come." The truth unveiled. Dr. Holt took a cautious step forward, his scientific mind racing. "Who are they?" Varen's gaze darkened. "The ones who ended my people. The ones who will end you, too, if you do not leave this place immediately." Kay's scanner beeped wildly, the readings fluctuating beyond normal parameters. "Captain, something is moving beneath us. Multiple heat signatures, closing fast." Reed's grip tightened on his rifle. "You're saying we just woke up whatever destroyed your civilization?" Varen let out a slow breath, his voice carrying the weight of ages. "No. You did not wake them. They never slept." A cold silence settled over the team. Dr. Holt shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. If something was still alive down here, we would have." A deep, guttural growl echoed through the cavern, cutting him off. It was not human. Echoes of an ancient war. The walls trembled as shadowy figures moved in the darkness beyond the crystalline glow. Faint, shifting forms, their bodies sleek and predatory. The air filled with an unnatural clicking sound, a language? A warning? Kay's eyes went wide. "Captain, this isn't just some automated defense system. These things are alive." Varen took a step forward, his frail body standing tall against the encroaching darkness. "They were left behind after the war. A reminder of what happens when we defy them." Holt swallowed hard. "Who are they?" Varen's gaze never wavered. "The Watchers called them the Hollow." Reed's stomach twisted. "And what do they want?" Varen turned to face him, his expression hauntingly calm. "To finish what they started. The Hollow awaken." The shadows moved with inhuman speed. Figures lunged from the darkness, their sleek, biomechanical bodies glistening in the dim light. Their elongated limbs ended in razor-sharp claws, and their eyes, if they had any, burned with a cold, otherworldly intelligence. Reed didn't hesitate. "Fall back. Get to the surface, now." Kay fired first, her plasma rifle illuminating the cavern with bursts of energy. The creatures shrieked as the bolt struck them, but they kept coming. Holt pulled Varen forward as they ran. "Can you stop them?" Varen didn't answer. Instead, he reached into a compartment in his pod and pulled out a small, palm-sized device covered in ancient symbols. He pressed something on its surface, and a pulse of energy radiated outward. For a brief moment, the Hollow hesitated. Then, a shrill screech erupted from deep within the tunnels, and they surged forward with renewed fury. Varen's expression hardened. It is too late. A desperate escape. The team sprinted back the way they came, plasma fire lighting their path as the Hollow pursued them. The tunnels shook, debris collapsing in their wake. Kay shouted over the chaos. "Captain! The ship, if they get to the surface, will never make it out." Reed's mind raced. They couldn't lead these things back to the ship. His radio crackled. "Commander, we're detecting massive seismic activity, what's happening down there?" Reed responded between breaths. "Tell the crew to prepare for emergency takeoff. If we're not there in 10 minutes, leave without us." A moment of silence. Then, understood. Varen's final stand. As they neared the exit, the Hollow gained ground. They were too fast. Varen suddenly stopped. Reed skidded to a halt. What the hell are you doing? Keep moving. Varen turned to him, the faint glow of his ancient implants flickering. Go. I will buy you time. Holt grabbed his arm. No. If we can just. Varen gently pushed him back. I was never meant to survive this long. But you? You must. The hollow closed in, their shrieks growing deafening. Varen raised the device in his palm. It pulsed violently, sending waves of energy through the tunnels. The walls cracked. The ceiling began to give way. The hollow screamed in fury as the cavern collapsed. The last thing Reed saw before the dust swallowed Varen whole was the ancient survivor's calm, resolute gaze. Then, silence. Cliffhanger, a final warning. The team barely made it to the surface, lungs burning, bodies aching. The ship's engines roared as they climbed aboard. As they ascended into orbit, Kay checked the ship's long-range scanners. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Captain, there's a structure on the far side of the planet. Reed turned, his expression grim. What kind of structure? Kay swallowed. A massive one. A ship. Holt's face drained of color. You mean? Kay met his gaze. They were never just waiting. They were preparing. Reed clenched his fists. Then we just gave them a reason to wake up. The ship's control panel flickered as Kay zoomed in on the distant structure. The image resolved into a jagged silhouette, a colossal vessel, half buried beneath the planet's surface. The hull was sleek, dark, and unnervingly smooth, as if it had been designed for something more than just space travel. Reed exhaled sharply. That's not one of ours. Dr. Holt leaned forward, his voice hushed. It's not Varen's people, either. Kay adjusted the scanners. That thing has been dormant for a long time, Captain, but now? It's waking up. Signs of life. The ship's sensors flashed red. New signals appeared on the display, heat signatures blooming like wildfire around the buried vessel. Holt paled. Are those life forms? Kay nodded grimly. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Reed clenched his jaw. The hollow. A crackle of static interrupted their thoughts as the ship's AI chimed in. Warning, unknown vessels detected in orbit. Reed whipped around to the main display. Outside their viewport, the endless black of space shimmered. Shadows emerged, dark, angular shapes cutting across the void. Ships. They weren't alone. First contact, or final contact. The alien ships held position, their matte black hulls barely reflecting light. Their design was unnatural, no visible thrusters, no communication signals. Just, watching. Then, a transmission cut through the silence. A deep, resonant voice filled the cabin, neither human nor entirely synthetic. You trespass. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Reed hit the comms. This is Captain Reed of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We are on a scientific mission. The voice interrupted, each word dripping with something ancient, something hungry. You are prey. The comms cut. Then, without warning, the hollow ships moved. The hunt begins. Evasive maneuvers. Reed barked. The ship lurched as Kay threw it into a sharp roll. Beams of crimson light sliced through the void, barely missing their hull. The alien vessels moved with an unnatural fluidity, no acceleration, no inertia, just motion. Holt gritted his teeth. They're not using standard propulsion. How the hell are they moving like that? Kay yanked the controls. Does it matter? They're gaining on us. Reed slammed his fist against the console. They were outmatched. Unless. He turned to Holt. You said Varen's people left weapons behind, right? Holt nodded, eyes wide. Yeah, but... Reed didn't let him finish. Then we find them. A desperate gamble. The ship dove back toward the surface. The Hollow pursued, their ships gliding after them like predatory birds. Kay pulled up the planetary map. There's a structure buried 30 clicks west of our original landing zone, large energy readings. Could be a weapons facility. Reed didn't hesitate. Take us there. The ship plunged toward the ruins, Hollow ships in pursuit. The chase had begun. The ship hurtled toward the surface, engines burning hot as Lieutenant K wove through jagged canyon ridges. The Hollow ships followed, gliding effortlessly, their predatory movements unnatural, as if gravity and inertia meant nothing to them. Inside the cockpit, Captain Reed gripped the console. We need those weapons. Now. Dr. Holt scanned the terrain frantically. We're almost there. That energy signature, it's massive. If there's anything left of Varen's people, it's in that structure. The ground loomed closer. The buried facility stretched before them, colossal stone towers jutted from the sand, cracked but standing. A circular entrance pulsed faintly, responding to their approach. But the Hollow weren't going to let them land uncontested. Fighting ghosts. Alarms blared as crimson beams slashed past them, barely missing the ship's hull. Brace! Kay shouted, twisting the controls. The ship scraped the ground, skidding into a half-controlled landing. Sparks flew, metal groaned, but they were down. Reed unstrapped and grabbed his rifle. Move! Inside, now! The airlock hissed open, and the crew sprinted toward the entrance. Behind them, the Hollow ships circled like vultures. Shapes emerged from the dunes, twisted biomechanical creatures, all jagged limbs and glowing eyes, moving in a synchronized, predatory rhythm. They were here. The final line. Varen stumbled forward, his aged body struggling but determined. The vault, inside. Quickly. Kay fired the first shot, energy rounds searing into the nearest creature. It screeched but kept coming. Reed unloaded a burst of fire, forcing it back. Dr. Holt yanked at the panel beside the vault door. It's sealed. I need time. We don't have time. Reed growled, firing another shot. The creatures swarmed, moving too fast for comfort. Varen stepped forward, raising his trembling hand. The ground shook. The ancient door groaned and slid open. A deep hum filled the air. Inside, the vault glowed. Ancient power awakens. The chamber was vast, lined with towering obelisks pulsing with unknown energy. In the center, a device, sleek, black, and humming with dormant power. The weapon. Varen turned, his old eyes fierce. It was never a weapon of war. It was a weapon of sealing. Reed barely had time to register the words before the creatures lunged. Activate it, he shouted. Varen staggered to the console, placing his hands on the control panel. The air crackled with energy. The obelisks brightened, pulsing faster, as the Hollow creatures froze mid-motion, screeching in rage. Kay held her breath. Is it working? The Hollow twitched, struggling against an unseen force. Their shadows flickered, warping, breaking apart, as if something was pulling them back into the void. The Hollow leader's voice hissed through the air one last time. This is not over. Then, they were gone. The price of victory. Silence filled the chamber. The energy in the vault faded, leaving only dim flickers of light. Varen collapsed, his body failing. Reed caught him. Stay with me. The ancient survivor gave a weak smile. It is done. You have a future. Do not waste it. And with that, the last of his kind was gone. The team stood there, breathing hard, the weight of history pressing on them. Dr. Holt wiped his face. We need to get back to the ship. Kay nodded. And tell Earth what we found. Reed looked at the empty vault, at the final message left behind. He exhaled. Yeah. But first, we need to decide what we don't tell them. The ship rocketed away from the planet's surface, the once hidden civilization now a distant memory beneath the dusty, alien sky. The hollow were gone, sealed away by the last remnants of a lost era. But the questions they left behind weighed heavy on the crew. Captain Reed sat in the cockpit, silent. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but his mind was back on that vault, on the truth Varen had whispered before he died. Dr. Holt was in the main cabin, analyzing the final transmission, the last message left behind by the ancient humans. His hands trembled as he read the translation. Kay entered, rubbing her forehead. Please tell me it doesn't say what I think it says. Holt exhaled slowly. It says exactly what you think it says. Humanity's lost origin. The message was simple. Earth was never our beginning. It was our refuge. They had fled. Not from the hollow, but from something even older, something that had wiped out the first cradle of human civilization. Kay sat down hard. We're not native to Earth. Reed finally turned from the cockpit. We were survivors. Holt nodded. The first humans, the ones who built that city, were spacefarers long before our recorded history. They built a thriving civilization, but something came for them. They lost the war and ran. They found a distant world, a young world, and they started over. They erased everything, wiped the records, forgot the stars, and became primitive again. Earth became our second chance. Kay scoffed. And we've spent our entire history thinking we were the first ones to leave our atmosphere. Reed crossed his arms. Which means we just sent out a message to the universe, announcing that we're back. History repeats. Silence fell over the room. Holt's voice was grim. The ones who destroyed them could still be out there. Kay clenched her jaw. And now they know we survived. A quiet beep echoed in the cabin. An incoming transmission, from Earth. Reed stared at the blinking light. We tell them the truth? Holt hesitated. If we do, everything changes. Kay exhaled. It already has. Final transmission. Reed reached for the comms. He pressed the button. Command, this is Captain Reed. We've made a discovery. It's big. He glanced at his crew, at Holt, at Kay, at the weight of the truth they now carried. He took a breath. But for now, let's just say we found something remarkable. And we're coming home. The message ended. The ship continued its journey, leaving behind the ghosts of a forgotten past. But some truths, once uncovered, can never be buried again. And somewhere in the darkness of space, something was listening.